Welcome back, groovy cats and chicks. It's me, the world's most dangerous filmmaker, Rock Savage, and that's my mic there, making sure everything's groovy here at the Savage Mansion. Right here, I am in the media room where we have LPs, vinyl. That's right. We got 8-track tapes, we got cassette tapes, we got CDs and DVDs, and a few Blu-rays. So I first of all have to apologize. I haven't made a video in a while. So I hope that we haven't had any subscribers abandon us. But anyway, that being said, um, you know, we have been very busy. I've been busy making my new movie, planning, lots of pre-production going on. And we got one scene filmed and we're filming another one this week. So, been busy. A lot of stuff going on. It's it's tough because I'm here in West Virginia now. I don't have my usual crew. A lot of them have retired. Got a few coming back. The Mod Mutilator will be back, of course, and a lot of our other favorites. But a lot have retired, and that's why they're not here. And I'm building up a new crew to film, and so hopefully we'll be working that out. Now, I wanted to speak about the rise of the independents. I know there's a lot of you out there who are independent filmmakers, and I'm hoping that you are listening to this. I want to inspire you, but you shouldn't just be inspired by me. I can't say, I'm pretty mostly underground, to be perfectly honest with you, even though, I have a lot of my films have made a profit, but they weren't very expensive to produce in the first place. There's a lot of tricks to that, which I'll probably be revealing in future episodes of this show. But I wanted to introduce you to some really great independent filmmakers, some of them who were pioneers of the 20th century, including one of my favorite who inspired me, the great Herschel Gordon Lewis. And here's a book about him. It's called The Amazing Herschel Gordon Lewis and His World of Exploitation Films. And they are fantastic book. He made all types of films. Here's the back of the book. He made a little film, which I'm going to show you the cover of. He also autographed this book for me. Let me see if I can find the first page. I forgot all about that. Yeah, I got him to autograph the book I believe the second time I met him. I met him several times. Here we go. He yeah. So he autographed it. There's Herschel right there. He made Blood Feast. Blood Feast was, I guess, what's considered the first American splatter movie. I don't like the word splatter movie. It's basically it's a horror movie with a traditional plot: good guy, bad guy, weird dude that has an Egyptian cult that's going to sacrifice nubile young girls to the crazed Egyptian goddess Ishtar. And there we go, right there. Blood Feast. Yes, made in 1963. First really gory horror film in full color. There have been other films in the 50s that teased us with a decapitation here and there, but they were in black and white. Herschel went all out. He got this beautiful color film, and if you see his movie on DVD, they got some great prints of it. They've been restored. The color is beautiful, and the blood is really, even to this day, they won't show this movie. It's still banned in England because, the British, they're kind of limp-wristed there. Well, that's putting it politely, I think. But anyway, so, and of course, it's never been on broadcast TV. If you cut all the gore out of it, you may have about 10 minutes left. It's really that intense. It's also got campy, morbid humor, which I appreciate because that's my kind of humor too. So everything, the acting's not too bad. It's played straight. I would say the acting is adequate. Herschel would tell you a lot of people in the film couldn't act. I disagree. I think they overact, but it's because some of them worked in dinner theater. And when you work in theater, you have to project your voice so people in the back can hear you. So, but that's perfectly fine. These movies are great. I highly recommend them. He even made a few. He made a nudie western too. Made some action films, some nudie cuties. He made the nudie cutie films before anyone else. All these women running around in nudist camps and everything, and it was great. And then he decided, because everybody else started copying those movies, and Herschel said, "Well, what am I gonna do?" And he talked to his good buddy Dave Friedman, this guy here, by the way, who wrote a book about his experiences in filmmaking, which I will talk about later, who I also met in person. And so Herschel decided, well, I'm tired of making these nudie cutie films. We've How many times can you put naked woman on a trampoline, or show them playing tennis, right? Or show them swimming? So, and and the plots got repetitive. Innocent librarian, innocent teacher, discovers the joy of nudism, and that it's not bad, and there's nothing wrong with it. We have to be free. So, but no. That being said, Herschel and David came up with a list of things, subject matters that Hollywood was afraid to touch. And they said, Hollywood has never made a horror film that was as gruesome as a real crime scene. I said, yeah, let's do that. And they came up with Blood Feast. That movie started all 1963, way ahead of its time, way ahead of Friday the 13th and all those other movies, and gorier than Halloween. Halloween is a sissy movie compared to Blood Feast. We got decapitations. We got eyeballs being gouged, a knife in the eyeball. We got limbs being cut off, and we even got disembowelment. That's right. So forget about that sissy Halloween movie. Go get yourself a copy of Blood Feast and watch it this Halloween. You'll be freaking out all over the place. And the movie, the critics hated it. It didn't matter. It made a lot of this. The more they hated it, the more money it made. That's why I always say, who cares about Rotten Tomatoes? I'm so sick of YouTube channels reporting on Rotten Tomatoes. Terrible. Who cares about critics? Blood Feast was a hit. And it made a lot of money, and that's why they immediately stuck to that genre for a while. They made 2000 Maniacs, and they made a lot of other movies like that. The Gruesome Twosome. It's about a guy that liked to scout women and his crazy mother who sent him to do it. The Gorgor Girls takes place in a strip club and owned by Henny Youngman. If you don't know who that is, look him up. That's a classic comedian. He never thought he'd be in a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie. But anyway, it's a great movie. The Gorgor Girls, very gruesome indeed. Wizard of Gore, about a psychotic magician. By the way, if you want to see 2000 Maniacs and Wizard of Gore, make sure you're watching the original. The guy who owned the rights to Herschel's movies did a remake of Wizard of Gore, which is lame. And he made a sequel to 2000 Maniacs called 2001 Maniacs. Forget about it. Both of those. Now, I met Herschel on 3 occasions. I met him at Chiller Theater back in the 90s where I said, Mr. Lewis, you inspired me to make movies. And he said, oh, no, another life I ruined. He did it like this. He held his head. He goes, oh, no. But anyway, I met him the second time at the Benji's Drive-In Theater in Maryland, and we were doing questions and answer right there outside, before 2000 Maniacs started, because we were having a special showing of 2000 Maniacs. So I was really happy. I actually not only got to meet my hero for a second time, but I got to see one of his movies on the largest screen on the East Coast. Yeah, the Benji's Drive-In movie theater is actually it's the largest movie screen on the East Coast, so that's wonderful. So anyway, my friend L.W. Woods, she appears in a lot of our movies. She's also Madame Magnum in one of our films, in Two-Fisted Tales of Terror, which I recommend that film. Of course, I made it, so of course I'm going to recommend it. But anyway, she asked him, because in Blood Feast, the goddess Ishtar was identified as being Egyptian because there was a lot of cool Egyptian stuff in the movie. But of course, Herschel was a very scholarly gentleman. He was a professor of English literature. He owned his own advertising company, before, and he also, by the way, composed all the music for his movie. So he's a real filmmaker, okay? Steven Spielberg does not compose his own music. Steven Spielberg does not edit his own films. Herschel did it all. He, he photographed his movies. He was a cinematographer. He also he wrote the scripts, sometimes under pseudonyms. Yeah, for Blood Feast, he and Dave wrote the script, but they didn't want to take credit for it because they were doing everything else, that they gave credit to the secretary who all she did was type it. So go figure. Says, oh, we'll give her the credit that she wrote it because she's typing it up for us because they wrote it in longhand. But they did write it. Let's be honest. Herschel and Dave wrote the script for Blood Feast and 2000 Maniacs. Also, Dave, like I said, not Dave. Herschel did the editing. Dave did the sound. Herschel composed the music, composed it and played the music using synthesizers or organs, whatever they were using at the early synthesizers, those Hammond organs they had. And basically, yeah, he did his own music. He composed his own music, wrote the scripts, did the cinematography, did the editing, had to do the editing. Somebody who saw the film dailies for the first time actually threw up. Remember that Herschel had to create the special effects. Nobody had done them like that before. He created the special effects with the help of a magician who knew how to do gory stuff on stage, who did spook shows. That's another story in itself. So anyway, you had and by the way, all the guts were real. They were from butcher shops. And they even used a cow tongue that they put in this poor actress's mouth and pulled it out. So it's pretty nasty. So he had to edit the film himself because other people just didn't even want to look at it. This shows you how intense this film was. But anyway, so LW asked him, she says, so how come you called Ishtar an Egyptian goddess when you must have known she was Babylonian? And Herschel said, young lady, in the 30 years since I've made that movie, no one's ever asked me that question, and I salute you. And later, Herschel and I would appear in a movie together called Chainsaw Sally, another movie I recommend. Not just because I'm in it and Herschel's in it, because we make cameos. We're basically in the same scene, though. But because it's a good movie and you should see it. It's a revenge film with a crazed, good-looking babe with a chainsaw. What could be better, you know? So anyway, Herschel, when we were on the set of Chainsaw Sally, I reminded him about that incident at the Benji's Drive-In, and he laughed. He says, you got to tell your friend that she changed the course of destiny. Because in Blood Feast 2, that's right, he made Blood Feast 2 decades later, over 30 years later. He said in Blood Feast 2, they mention that Ishtar is Babylonian. So LW changed the course of destiny, which is great. And another filmmaker is Herschel's partner and producer on the first 3 movies that he made, that were the Blood trilogy. Blood Feast, 2000 Maniacs, and one of my favorites, Color Me Blood Red, which is about a psychotic artist that uses the blood of his models to paint some really gruesome masterpieces. And right here, A Youth in Babylon is the title of Dave's autobiography, sort of an autobiography. He had a part 2 planned, and he had a big fight with the publishers, and he said forget about it. But this book in itself is great. It's a great book, and hey, and right there's a picture of Dave with the poster for 2000 Maniacs. Great movie. Dave produced a lot of movies on his own, including The Erotic Adventures of Zorro, which I highly recommend. Another Dave, of course, and Dave and Herschel were my biggest influences. However, I had other influences too, because these guys kept inspiring me because they made all these movies far away from Hollywood. Herschel and Dave were making movies in Florida. Herschel was originally from Chicago, but when he went to Florida, he fell in love, and down south, he fell in love with everything that was Southern, including fried chicken. Never had fried chicken until he went down south. Back then, you didn't have KFC everywhere. It was just starting out. And so, well, by the way, so we're going to talk about Don Dohler, another great filmmaker I met. He also autographed this for me, and great, great filmmaker. We talked about making movies. He's from Maryland, and he lives out in Perrywood or Perryville. And the reason I'm not sure of the name of it is because one of those names is the fictional name of where he lived out in the rural part of Maryland, which became it's where all his horror movies take place. Well, they're horror and it says B movie horrors, but a lot of them have science fiction motifs to them. They're great movies, and I highly recommend it. His most famous one is this one, the Alien Factor, which has Dick Dysel in it, alias Captain 20, alias the great Count Gore Duvall, the terrific horror host, who happens actually to host one of my movies on DVD called um, it's called Violence is My Business, and he hosts that. It's an anthology of 3 tales of horror, with of course lots of violence. Thus the title, Violence is My Business. So he hosts all 3 segments. Terrific guy, the Count. As Dick Dysel, he appears in this movie as the mayor of the town. He's also plays the mayor again, but this time with a mustache, in Night Beast, and his acting is pretty good. He's a pretty good actor, and so lots of great stuff there. The you know a little bit of gore there, but really great monsters, and all done on a low budget, no CGI crap like they have now. All practical effects, and I really highly recommend those movies too. I recommend Herschel's movies, Dave's movies. You can find them on Something Weird Video. Don movies, you'll have to do a search for them independently because they're owned by different people now, which is kind of strange. But anyway, that being said, there's another filmmaker, Andy Milligan. I could do a whole story about this guy. This guy was out there. Some of his films are really cool, and some of them really, I don't know what to tell you. But the one I would recommend the most is to get the DVD from Something Weird. That's called The Body Beneath. That's about vampires, so you should check that out. It comes with a second movie about a sleazy, degenerate family that gets what they deserve. As that's a double feature on that one. So recommend some of his movies too, but not too many, really. But he made films with next to nothing also, just like John Waters did in his early films, which are sort of inspiring. They're pretty sick and sleazy, but despite that, or maybe because of it, I found them very funny, some of the early John Waters movies. They really cracked me up. Pink Flamingos was funny and cringe at the same time. However, what's not cringe is the Russ Meyer films. Russ Meyer was obsessed with women with big bosoms. And yeah, all the women in Russ Meyer films, mwah, beautiful, beautiful women. So if you're looking for something that's not cringe, but lots of surrealism, and lots of action, because his films are really action orientated. This is the man, Russ Meyer. Recommend Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Inspired the band Faster Pussycat, and the Cramps covered the song Faster Pussycat. Personally, I think the Cramps version is actually better than the one on the soundtrack. But terrific. I highly recommend Russ Meyer movies, especially if you like big bazoom buzz. Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm going to talk about one more, because there's other filmmakers I can give an honorable mention to, like the great Ray Dennis Streckler, and quite a few others out there who did the incredibly strange creatures who came. Boy, that's a mouthful. The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. And yes, that is the title. And The Thrill Killers, which is also a great movie. I personally like The Thrill Killers better. Excellent movies. He did a lot of independent films also. And I could do a whole story about that guy. That guy's got an incredible backstory, too. I could do a whole one on Herschel. As a matter of fact, there is a YouTube video. I'm on all the channels. I'm on YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. Check out my I uploaded to YouTube my podcast where I talked about the great Herschel Gordon Lewis. I've got a lot of stories about Herschel. And right here, this one, Film Alchemy, is about Ted V. Mikels. And I want to show you something. Ted was ahead of his time, and it just goes to show you how Hollywood likes to rip off independent filmmakers. He's the one who made The Black Klansman, a movie called The Black Klansman's first. It's probably a bit different than the new one. I'm not too sure. This one is about a light-skinned black man who joins the Klan so he can get revenge. So, revenge for, I think, a family member or something. I haven't seen that one. That's a little hard to track down. His movies are owned by different people. But the one I recommend, my favorite, is The Doll Squad. Again, Ted's lawyer recommended that he sue the people who created the TV series Charlie's Angels. And I happen to love Charlie's Angels, but they did rip him off. I don't care what Kate Jackson says, that it was her idea that Charlie talk out of a speaker. That's what the Doll Squad boss does. He talks out of a speaker. And, which by the way is the voice of the director. It's the voice of Ted V. Mikels. So I'm like, okay, what the hell? Not to mention, it's a group of females, except in his movie, they're spies, and they're more dangerous than the angels. They actually are trained to kill, and they do kill all the bad guys because that's their job. They're like 007. They have a license to kill and look sexy in tight clothes. So there you go. And also, go out in the desert, don't break a sweat, blow everything up, and not even mess up their hair. What can I say? My kind of women. So, there you go. Ted also did a movie called Astro Zombies with the great John Carradine and Trula Santana from Faster Pussycat Kill Kill playing the villain. She's always seems to be playing villains. Oh no, she's in the Doll Squad too as a good girl. So there you go. So there's three movies with that voluptuous lady with the big bazoombas. So anyway, Ted, I got to meet Ted in person. Real nice guy. We talked about movies and everything at Chiller Theater. And, of course, I had to ask him. You see, Ted was very unusual. For decades, he lived with 6 women. And if one left, he replaced them with another. They were his wives. And he actually lived in a castle in the desert in Nevada. Yeah, he actually bought a castle. And see, he didn't just make films. He was a businessman and owned a department store somewhere, a small department store, nothing like Macy's or anything. And, had several business ventures. He was a great entrepreneur, but making movies was his passion. And women was his passion. And that's why he had 6 of them, because he said there's 6 women for every man in America, and he wanted his 6. Wow. Well, I would need 6 paychecks, but having one is a handful. My God. So anyway, I asked Ted, I had to ask him, I said, Ted, I hope you don't mind me asking you, but I gotta ask you, are you still living with 6 women? And he laughed, he goes, nah, I'm down to 1. I said, oh, well, she must be very special. And he said, oh, yes, she is. So, there you go. So glad that Ted was very, very, very happy with his one wife. I'm sure having one woman is less stressful than having 6. So good for him. Anyway, the sad part is that all these filmmakers, all these great filmmakers have passed away. Some of them passed away too young. Don Doler passed away young because my understanding it was lung cancer. That was sad. So anyway, but you can learn a lot from these guys. They used practical effects. They had low budgets, but they got a lot out of it. They were great. And they inspired me, and I've used a lot of their techniques in my movies so that I could get a lot more movie for less money. And you can too. If you're independent filmmakers out there, you need to put your signature on the film, make the films you kind of want, and forget about Hollywood. The important thing is to tell that people want to see the same kind of movies you want. So you can't make stuff that's abstract and doesn't make sense and doesn't have a story. You got to have a traditional story with a beginning, middle, and an end. And I guarantee you, people want to see it. And if it's quirky, yeah, people want to see it more. They'll say, what the hell's this? I've never seen anything weird like this before. That's why all these guys had something to offer. They had their unique style. I mean, the Astro Zombies, great movie. Weird androids going freaking out and doing strange things, and international spies also. We got mad scientists, Soviet spies, and androids. I mean, and also voluptuous women with cleavage because Ted liked them too. So that's great. What he did a movie called The Undertaker and His Pals. Business was slow, so they had to make some business for themselves. That's pretty twisted. But people want to see these movies. The Doll Squad. You had 5 gorgeous babes doing a raid on some villains that were planning to spread a plague on America. Or actually the whole world, I think. These babes took no prisoners. They looked good, and while they were kicking butt. Again, real stuff that people wanted to see. Well, the filmmakers themselves wanted to see it, but the people wanted to see it too. It's sort of like what Kiss said. That was the band. Kiss was the band they wanted to see, and apparently other people want to see it too. So chances. So you're gonna have to take some chances and do something different. Don't do what Hollywood's doing. Hollywood's just making propaganda. Don't preach to anybody. Just tell a good adventure story, a good horror story, a good sci-fi story. Or maybe you want to combine some of those. Combine the genres is okay. But you're going to have to find your niche, and I'm sure you will. But in the meantime, go to www.savagefilmgroup.com and check out some of my movies. And you won't be disappointed. It'll take you. You click on one of my movies, it'll take you to the Etsy shop. You can buy stuff there. There's stuff that my wife has made. We got T-shirts. We got Savage Film Group candles. We got candles also of the Mothman, Braxton County Monster, the Goat Man of Maryland, and a few other great Savage Film Group candles of our characters from our movie, and T-shirts if you want those. But most important that you get our films. So anyway, that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps us out here, okay? Because I'm not monetized. If I was monetized, I would have to speak in a weird language because they got so many words you can't say now. So go figure. So I'm not speaking in any weird, what I call YouTube speak. Like I said, if you get, we're also on Rumble. We're on Odyssey, and we're on BitChute. So you can check us out in either one of those channels there. I don't know which one you're on right now if you're watching, but it's cool. If you want to watch it again, watch it on another channel. It helps us out. Anyway, stay groovy. I'll see you at the movies. When I say I see you at the movies, not literally in a theater, because hardly anybody goes to those now, which is sad. But I'll see you at the movies. Hopefully you'll get one of my DVDs. And I'll catch you on the next YouTube video. And I'll give you an update on our movies and everything else. So stay groovy. I'm out of here.